framework fix, how to simplify and systemize everything. How to simplify and systemize everything. That's what I want you to be able to do. So core message here is framework creates confidence, consistency, and clarity. Okay. So I'm going to do a couple things here. I want to talk to you about what is a framework really, because I talk about frameworks all the time. I talk about systems, but actually, what is a framework? Because you might be thinking, like, she just says these words all the time, but what does that really mean? So I'm actually going to give you the information so you can go off this call and you're going to sit down and do this, okay? And I encourage you to do that. So let me go back to the last actions that I asked you to do. You're going to do that audit, right? So the freedom audit, you're going to look, freedom audit, isn't that a beautiful word? Freedom audit, writing down each task. Can I delegate it? Can I automate it? Can I eliminate it? Now, after we've done that, we need to know about putting systems and frameworks together. So what is a framework? A framework is a simplified, repeatable structure for how you deliver your results. So if I say my G.A.I.N framework is how I take a lead and convert them into a client. It's how I deliver the results for a lead to a client, right? That's my G.A.I.N framework, right? You're going to be looking at how can you create different frameworks. It's not software. Framework is not software. It's not automation. It is your step-by-step path that anyone, yourself, a VA, a new hire, can follow and get the exact same results. Okay? Think about that. A framework is a repeatable step-by-step path that anyone, a VA, a new hire, if they follow it, will get the same results, AKA the G.A.I.N method, right? If they follow my G.A.I.N method, when the lead comes in and they follow this conversation strategy of the G.A.I.N method, they convert a customer, right? So it's a repeatable system that we all follow in my organization, okay? So why frameworks matter? If your business feels heavy, it's because you're managing through memory and not systems, okay? So that matters. So just in your own well-being, that matters. Frameworks take what's in your head and make it teachable. Okay. Because a lot of times we put all this information in our head, and that's why we tell people, oh, no one can do it as good as we can do it. Well, probably also we haven't even really put what's in our brain into any kind of intelligible system for someone to even mirror to be able to do 80% as good as we do, right? And so that's one of the big steps is creating these frameworks takes that out of your head and puts it in a teachable system. When you document your steps, you create clarity. And when you name your steps, you create value. Okay, so let me say that again. When you can document your steps, so all the actions that you need to take, you will create clarity for yourself. Okay, what can I automate? What can I delegate? What can I eliminate? And when you can name those steps, you're going to create some value. Okay. So we're going to talk now on how can you build your first framework. I have a 3-step formula on how you can build a framework. It's actually very easy and very fun. It's something that I encourage you to do over the weekend so you have some clear time to just sit and focus and not have to worry about that the phone's going to ring or you got something popping up on your calendar. So the first thing you want to do, step 1, is define it. So what problem does it solve? So example, your client onboarding feels chaotic and it's inconsistent. You don't really have a good client onboarding, right? So that's the problem. So step 1 is we're defining what we need to solve for, right? And then step 2 is we're going to design it. So this is where you can take that problem and take 3 to 5 steps of what happens every time for that client. So example that I might have for this client onboarding. Number 1, I'm going to collect. So I want to collect maybe I'm collecting their credit reports or other reports, their intake forms, their documents, right? So collect is 1. Number 2 in my 3-step process maybe is create. So I'm going to build the action plans using LevelUp score. So I'm creating what I need to do. And maybe on top of that, I'm doing disputes or whatever that may be. Number 3 is communicate. Sending the welcome email, sending recorded a walkthrough video, whatever that might look like. So that would be my 3-step process for onboarding. So my onboarding is I want to collect, I want to create, and I want to communicate. Okay. So simple 3-step process. Does that make sense? So now I've created a 3-step process. I've also named it. Collect. What does that mean? Create. What does that mean? Communicate. What does that mean? And then you want to document. So you make it visual. You can create it like a checklist. Create or collect, create, right? Communicate, could be a checklist. It could be a workflow. You can make it as a Loom video because if it's seen, it can be repeated. So it's really cool to make it a visualization. So if you saw my G.A.I.N framework, right, there's a visualization of what that G.A.I.N framework looks like. It really helps to have that documented process that people can see. Okay. So pro tip, if you do something more than once, if you do something twice, I said this the last time, probably needs a framework for it. Okay. If you're doing something more than once, or you're doing it twice, there probably needs to be a framework for it. So here's some examples of some frameworks that you might be wanting to consider doing yourself. A sales framework. Like for me, when a lead comes in, how do we convert that? That's my G.A.I.N framework. It's for every single consultation, we do the G.A.I.N framework, right? So that's my sales framework. You might have a client journey framework. So lead comes in, onboard, deliver, update, review, repeat, or renew, right? A marketing framework, weekly posts, like how are you going to do your weekly posts, your story structure, your, maybe your testimonial flow. How does all that work? Team training framework. How are you going to onboard your VAs? How does your dispute team do their job? Your assistants do their job? Each framework can become a module in your business machine. Okay. And you can build these out so that they're repeatable and you don't have to teach them more than once because you can, do them as videos and modules and things like that. So here's my action exercise for segment 2 today that we were talking about. And that is what I call the framework builder. So I would recommend that you pick one thing, one area in your business that you feel is really messy. And a lot of people come to me and it's their onboarding. Okay, it's their onboarding or it is their consultation. They feel messy. They're not consistently closing deals. They don't know how to, or they don't even know how to bring the lead in, right? So if you know that there's something messy in your process or there's a gap in that process, that might be the one that you focus on first. So pick one. Don't try to overhaul everything at one time. I do recommend that you pick one. And you want to ask yourself, what's the outcome I want? What's the minimum number of steps to get there? Keyword, minimum number of steps to get there, right? So when I did my onboarding example that I just told you, I have collect, create, communicate, 3 simple steps. What does each of those mean, right? So I can easily check them off. And what can I automate or assign inside of those steps? That's the other part, very, very important. Okay, so like for me, if I collect the data, I have a online consultation form that they complete. The consumer completes it. It goes into my CRM system, so I don't have to worry about myself having to copy and paste or mistyping anything. They type it, it goes in there. It starts the process flow. What's next, right? It starts the lead gen emails that I might be sending out. And then the create for me is where I put everything's in LevelUp score and it's getting automated and sent out, right? And then the communicate what happens next, right? So just kind of consider that you have this simple 3-step process and what does that mean? And is there anything that I can assign or automate? So for me in my create process, I've automated the create process with LevelUp score, right? So think about that. How can you automate it or assign it to someone? Once you've written it down, name it. Okay, names make frameworks memorable and marketable. For my example, the name of it, and feel free to take it, is the 3C onboarding framework. Collect, create, communicate. Collect, create, communicate. The 3C onboarding framework, right? Memorable. You remember it. It's like a checklist. Okay, I know what I need to do. It's a great way of how you build out the next pieces. Like, okay, what's collect mean? What are the things I need to collect? What does create mean? Can I automate that? What does that look like? Communicate. What do I need to do to communicate? Right? So those are really important. If you can name it, you can teach it. If you can teach it, you can scale it. Okay. Systems don't make you robotic. They make you reliable. And frameworks turn chaos into confidence.